saying that they won't change anything. They will send the CI, proposed CI, back in the same form, that Parliament has only expressed an opinion. What do you say?
Well, I think Dr. Siriboe should go and read the Constitution very well. I'm certain that if he reads their functions under Article 45 of the Constitution, particularly 45 Clause E, it gives them the power to give effect to registering people in a manner that will not constrict their fundamental rights as to the right to vote and be voted for. Now, if he further reads the Constitution, he's aware that under Article 50 of the Constitution, they have the right to make regulations, but those regulations are subject to approval by Parliament. It's so simple for a public officer to speak in the manner that he has just done, but especially calling the bluff of Parliament, as it were. For me, I even think that it's so contemptuous of Parliament. His comments are contumacious of the powers of Parliament. And I believe that there are remedies available to any person, any member who feels aggrieved by the comments. What is the issue? The issue is that you came to Parliament with the intention that you want to bring a CI. So you brought the draft content of the CI. Parliament has looked at the draft content. In fact, 2 committees look at the draft content. In fact, 3 committees. First, the budget committee, the special budget committee, because as a constitutional body, your budgetary matters is the special budget committee that has oversight in terms of the budgetary matters for a constitutional body like the Electoral Commission. Then the subsidiary legislation, because the instrument you are bringing, the constitutional instrument you intend to bring, falls in the domain or under the mandate of the subsidiary legislation committee. Then, above all this, the committee of the whole, that is the entire Parliament, reducing itself to looking and scrutinizing the content of the document. So is Dr. Siriboe saying that doesn't tell him anything? That you can actually tell Parliament that to go through or to spend money and time to review the draft instrument in the manner that Parliament has done, to the extent that the committee of the whole's report was authored by no mean a person but the Speaker of the House. Dr. Siriboe will sit on radio and tell us that we can go to hell. That whatever they intend to do is what they will do. You see, this is why we think that this government must not be trusted. This government told us that they had agreed to certain amendments fashioned by the House and contained in the committee of the whole's report, and so they will be factored into the instrument. You see the public officer sitting at the Electoral Commission calling himself a director of elections, spewing this and damning Parliament and telling us that we can go to hell. We are waiting for him. When we resume on the 15th of May, we are waiting for him. He should bring his instrument. That's all that I can say for now.
He should bring it?
Yes, we are waiting for him. He should come and lay the instrument. He should gazette it and come and lay and walk away.
But in the meantime,
people occupy public office and think that they can run public office like their sole proprietorship. They think that they can run public office like their sole proprietorship. They want to do as they desire with public office.
in this case, if he gazettes and brings back the CI in the form which it is in, can the speaker insist that this is not what I ask you to do? This is not what the House asked you to do?
Do you know the meaning of laying a document in Parliament? Do you know what that means? So Siriboe thinks that he can go and gazette the draft instrument that they brought to Parliament with the contents as they brought it, with no amendments as proposed by Parliament. That he will come and lay it. Where is he going to pass to lay it? Where will he pass? Or he will stand outside and throw the document to the chamber and say that he has laid it. He has no idea about parliamentary procedure. That is why he will speak in the manner that he has just done. He's so ignorant about procedural matters in Parliament. So he can sit on radio and say that even though Parliament says improve some portions of the instrument in this manner, we as Electoral Commission, we will not. So we can go to hell. We thank him very much for saying that this morning. Parliament thanks him, Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. We thank him very much for speaking to us in the manner he has just done. We are grateful. Because you see, we allow people like him to come and sit in the chamber during Committee of the Whole and answer to questions. So he can speak to us in the manner that he has done. We thank him.
Because ideally, I was thinking any response should be coming from a commissioner.
That is even the problem. That is even the problem. But you see, he's such a high-ranking public officer who has a duty under law to speak to these matters dispassionately. So what exactly is the hidden agenda of the Electoral Commission in introducing this instrument? I want to pose that question today. What exactly is the issue? The Constitution says, or our electoral law says, if you want to register citizens who have turned 18 and are of sound mind and are of voting age, register them at polling stations. Polling stations are the gazetted registration centers under law. You are bringing an instrument that you are saying that you will not do that. You want to amend the old law and register only at your district offices, which will mean that, for instance, my people in Ajebu in South Dayi will have to be transported over 45 kilometers in and 45 kilometers out. That is 90 kilometers journey in a day just to be registered. And we say that amounts to conscripting the rights of the person. Two, you want to say that in undertaking the registration, you want to have recourse to only Ghana card. And we are saying that Ghana card, there are issues with it. So in addition to rely on Ghana card, also rely on the guarantor system. So the persons who already are in possession of the Ghana card can guarantee for another person to be able to register. How are these not reasonable propositions for a director of election at the Electoral Commission to grant interview this morning and say that what Parliament has proposed it's a mere suggestion and that they won't take it into consideration? It means they are getting support from somewhere to be able to score the bluff of Parliament this way.
In this case, there's also the question of have you ever used the pre-laying in the manner in which you used it?
Pre-laying, we have used the pre-laying in the manner in which we have used it. We have. Pre-laying has become an accepted procedure of Parliament. Who is doubting it? Who is doubting the importance of the pre-laying? Parliament operates by procedures and protocols and conventions. So pre-laying may not be part of our standing orders. It has become an acceptable practice of passing instruments in the House because of the Supreme Court decision that once an instrument is passed, once an instrument is gazetted, it cannot be amended except it is rejected by 2/3 majority. We cannot tinker with it. So pre-laying has become an important part of passing all. Since I've been in Parliament in January 2017, we have been involved in pre-laying a lot of instruments that government agencies have brought to the House, including the regulation underpinning the Right to Information Act, including the Office of the Special Prosecutor regulations. All those important agencies of state whose instruments we have passed, we've gone through pre-laying. We've gone through pre-laying. The Energy Commission recently passed a lot of LIs. We went through pre-laying. We review, we look at the instrument, the provisions before they were gazetted and passed. And have participated in so many pre-laying sessions. The pre-laying gives you the opportunity to redraft, to amend, to correct grammar of the proposed instrument. Because of the case law that when it is gazetted and laid, you can only reject 2/3. So if you don't want to reject, then you must have the opportunity to be able to do the amendments informally. So nobody should sit anywhere and say that pre-laying is not a part of the parliamentary procedure. It is.
And it's interesting.
That is why when it is done, a report, when the instrument is referred, the report is generated by the committee, subsidiary committee. It's generated. And it is told, the report will indicate that there was a pre-laying to review the contents of the instrument before it is gazetted and laid. And that report, when it is adopted and debated and adopted, become part of the what we call the travaux préparatoire of passing the legislation.
Have you ever had an institution subject itself to this pre-laying process and then goes back to speak in the manner in which Dr. Siriboe was speaking?
No, never. Never since when I joined Parliament in January 2017. Never. No institution has called the bluff of Parliament this way. They've all been amenable to what Parliament says. In any case, it is the law is passed by Parliament. It is not the law of the agency. That is what they don't understand. It is Parliament that is enacting the law for you. Go back and check the interviews. They blame Parliament. They say Parliament enacted the CI 91 for them and gave them the power under regulation, I think regulation 33 or so, to compile a new voters register anytime they desire to do so. They blame Parliament. Nobody blamed the Electoral Commission. So we have learned our lesson. We will guard, we will sanitize every provision in any instrument that comes before us. He can tickle himself and laugh.
And let me conclude by pointing out to you that he also suggests that in the case of others, perhaps they don't have the Constitution in stating emphatically that they are independent, that they are protecting their independence in this case.
Why? We just enacted the regulations for the judiciary, the new Judiciary Act that we passed in Parliament. Isn't the judiciary an organ of state? Isn't the judiciary a creature of the Constitution? Isn't the judiciary, the independence of the judiciary guaranteed under the Constitution? You see, the supposed independence of its performance of its function is about when you are working, when you are conducting your registration of voters. Me as a member of Parliament will come and tell you that do it under a tree or do it under a veranda. You are not subject to my control and direction. That is what the Constitution says. So why, if the Constitution intended the Electoral Commission to sit in the office and draft its own legislation, why didn't the Constitution say so? But the draft legislation is the function of Parliament. So it's only Parliament that can amend and tweak, amend, align, change, and amend the regulations. And we have procedure for doing that. Is he crying about independence of functions of office? Nobody is interfering in his work as a director of elections. We always say the law with which you work must come from Parliament. And it is Parliament that is speaking. He shouldn't confuse the two things at all. There's a certain confusion in his mind. He should clear it.